We have an update on Isaiah Stewart's injury. How long will he be out? And what are the Pistons going to do while he's out? We'll talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Coop Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Coop Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. In the Pistons' last game against the Toronto Raptors, Isaiah Stewart suffered an injury in the first half, right before halftime. And watching it live, I told you guys this on the last podcast, but watching it live, it looked bad. It looked really bad. I thought it looked like his knee buckled before he ran into what I think is like some kind of board, whatever, protecting the fans from the players, wherever it was he ran into behind the rim. He ran into that and it didn't look good. However, I don't think it's nearly as bad as what I think a lot of people thought it was originally. So Wojnarowski, obviously Adrian Wojnarowski, tweeted out today that Detroit Pistons center Isaiah Stewart has a sprain of his right big toe and will be really reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not his knee at all. It's his foot, specifically his right big toe, and he has a sprain. So he's going to be out for at least 2 to 3 weeks. And I saw something from one of the I'm forgetting his name now. It's one of the sports doctors on YouTube. He's the one who broke down Killian's injury when he had that rookie injury with his hip. He talked about it a little bit. And he said that I'm sure you guys should go look it up. He probably has a video out by now. But he basically said that this is the kind of injury, same thing going on with Desmond Bane, is that it takes a few weeks for them to really even reevaluate it, but you could even be looking at them being out 4 to 6 weeks for them to really be back to full strength. So either way, even if he's out 4 to 6 weeks, it's not as bad as what a lot of people thought it was going to be. And we hope that Isaiah Stewart has a quick and speedy recovery and gets back to 100% and can play for the Pistons soon. But that begs the question now that we know that Stu is going to be out for some time, what are they going to do in his absence? So there's a few options that they can do in his absence. And when I say that, I mean the starting lineup. What are they going to do with the starting lineup now? There's a few different ways they can go about it. There's one way that I think just can't happen. I just don't believe they should. This should not be an option. I can't see how this could be a viable starting lineup. And simply plugging Saddiq Bey back into the starting lineup and starting Marvin Bagley with them. The Detroit Pistons have the worst defense in the entire NBA by more than a point. Have the worst defensive rating in the entire NBA. That's because they had been starting Saddiq Bey and Boyan Bogdanovic right next to each other. And it was the worst defensive wing pairing in the entire NBA. It was awful. And then you throw in Jaden Ivey, who's a rookie. Rookies get a pass. They're usually bad on defense. But if you throw that into the mix and you also have two bigger guys on the wing who are awful defensively, it spells recipe for disaster. And that's exactly what the Pistons defense has been. And it's been Isaiah Stewart behind trying to make up for everything, trying to be a rim protector, trying to swallow up all the boards. Like, he's had to really try to cover for everyone. And it hasn't worked at all, obviously, again, because they have the worst defensive rating in the league. So now you're taking your best, outside of, I think, your two best defenders are Isaiah Stewart and Killian Hayes. Isaiah Stewart is the best big man defender on the team, and Killian Hayes is the best perimeter defender. So now you're taking your best big man defender and rim protector out the game for like 2 to 3 weeks, at the very least. And you're now going to replace him by subbing in one of the Pistons' worst defenders on the team in Marvin Bagley, and then also start him next to two of the worst defenders on the team in Saddiq Bey and Boyan Bogdanovic. There's no way I think that should even be a consideration. They can't do that. I don't. If they were to start that lineup, I think they might give up 130 points a game, and I'm not joking. There's no way that can be an option for the starting lineup. So if that one can't be an option for the starting lineup, what do I think they should do? Well, I think one of the options they can do is if they do want to bring Saddiq Bey into the starting lineup, This is what I would do if they are insistent on, okay, you know what, while Stu's out, we're going to just bring Sadiq back into the starting lineup. If you're going to do that, then obviously Killian Hayes and then Kay Cunningham when he gets back from injuries. But until Kay gets back from his injury, do Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, Boyan Bogdanovic, and Jalen Duren. You have to start Jalen Duren if you're going to start those two wings. Because at least Jalen Duren, now while he's a rookie, he's going to have rookie mistakes. He's going to probably foul a lot. He's going to have those rookie mistakes. But he's already a so much better rim protector than Marvin Bagley. He's already so much better of a rebounder than Marvin Bagley. For what you need, if you're going to start those two guys, you need someone who can play somewhat of defense and try, at least, to erase some of your defensive efficiencies on that end. And with Isaiah Stewart out, the only other big man on the team, I think, is Jalen Duren. We saw Nerlens Noel like last week, a week and a half ago, and he didn't look like he was anywhere close to 100%. He didn't look like he was ready to be out there playing big minutes. And I don't know about you guys, but I saw one too many Nerlens Noel jump shots. I don't think we've ever seen him take so many jump shots in his career. I think he already broke that record in the first few games he played with the Pistons. So I don't know if anyone really wants to see Nerlens Noel. So if you're going to start Sadiq and Boyan next to each other, you have to get Duren in there. At least he's somewhat of a rim protector, and he can try to deter shots at the rim, hopefully. That's your hope there. With Marvin Bagley, you don't have a hope with that. It's just it's a sunk cost. So that's one option. The second option is you keep Sadiq Bey on the bench, and you go Killian Hayes again until Kay comes back, Jaden Ivey, Boyan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Livers, and Marvin Bagley. If you're going to start Marvin Bagley, you cannot then also have two terrible defenders next to him. Now, Isaiah Livers is not some all-NBA defender. He's not going to all of a sudden change everything for the Pistons if you start him. But he's better defensively than Sadiq Bey. He's better defensively than Boyan. He'll communicate better. He'll play better team defense. He'll play better individual defense. He'll hustle more on the boards. So at least he'll have some kind of help with Marvin Bagley. The other option, you have no help. And it's just, again, 140 points per game getting put up on you. That's what I think is going to happen. So if you're going to start Marvin Bagley, you're going to have to start Isaiah Livers next to him, or at least start Isaiah Livers at the 3. If you don't want to start him next to him at the 4, start him at the 3. So you can at least have some kind of defensive presence at all on the wing and someone who can help you rebound and is athletic and is going to hustle on that end as well. So I think if you're going to start Marvin Bagley, you have to start Isaiah Livers. Or the last option, I think, is Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Boyan, Isaiah Livers, and Jalen Duren. I think that's another option. I think, honestly, if you want my final determination, I think while Stu's out, you should not be starting Marvin Bagley, because the reasoning behind starting Marvin Bagley in the first place in this lineup was, okay, well, Bagley's not good defensively. He's not going to be able to bang with the big guys, but that's exactly what Stu can do. Stu can make up for that on the defensive end. On the defensive end, Stu can play the 5. He can bang down low. He'll grab the rebounds. He'll protect the rim. He'll do all the defensive stuff. And then on the offensive end, Stu's not very good at the 5 things. He's not good at finishing around the rim. He's not good at catching passes. He's not good at catching lobs in the dunker spot, all that kind of stuff, setting screens, rolling to the rim. All the 5 stuff, Stu's not that good at. But we're trying to make Stu a 4, and he's actually shooting decent from 3. So we're going to put him at the 4, and then guess who's actually really good at the 5 stuff? Marvin Bagley. So they both complemented each other really well. Stu made up for his deficiencies on the defensive end, and Bagley helped him on the offensive end. They could interchange at the 4 and 5 depending on offense or defense. So that's what really made it okay to try to start both of them together. If you're not going to have Stu out there, I think you really should. They should seriously consider just not starting Bagley at all at the 5. I don't think Marvin Bagley is a center on both ends of the floor. And if you're going to play him as a 5 offensively, you better have somebody at the 4 who can then take his place defensively, so you're not a complete liability on that end. So at least while Stu's out, I think the Marvin Bagley starting experiment probably should be cut. And you're going to have to start Jalen Duren. At least that's what my opinion would be. Because, again, without Stu, the whole point of starting Stu and Bagley together goes out the window now. Now you're just dealing with his deficiencies, and it's going to show up even more. So that's where I stand with that. I hope they go ahead and start Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Boyan, Isaiah Livers, and Duren. Keep Sadiq in his role off the bench. You already moved him to the bench. No need to yank him back around. If you're going to keep him on the bench for the future, just let him play this stretch out and get used to coming off the bench and figuring out how to play off the bench. You don't want to be yanking him around. So I'd keep him there and just start Isaiah Livers with Jalen Duren and hope that can survive somewhat. The team wasn't good anyways, but hopefully this can survive somewhat. It gives you nice spacing and a roll threat, a lob threat in there too. So I think that's the option I would go with. But let me know in the comment section down below what option you guys would go with. You guys can also tweet at me at Kuka Hill. What option would you guys go with in the starting lineup while Isaiah Stewart is out with his big toe sprain? Let me know again, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, there's some rumors going around about Boyan Bogdanovic. We'll talk about those and what this could possibly mean this season. But first, I got to tell you guys about some of our sponsors. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Turo. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the US, the UK, Canada, and coming soon to Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. Test drive that new electric vehicle you've had your eye on to see how it fits in your everyday life. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right back to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions apply. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. Again, forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. Check it out at Turo.com. And real quick, you know what? Let's go ahead and pause the podcast for just a second. Okay, we're paused now. Great, because I got to tell you guys about this. I got to tell you guys, you have to try this. I'm talking about Built Bar's new reimagined flavors. Cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, coconut brownie topper. White chocolate peppermint granola. It's Built's take on the granola bar, so it's more filling and still insanely tasty. And candy cane brownie puff. Built Puffs are like biting into universe's most delicious cloud. First off, for anyone who hasn't tried Built Bars before, they're literally the best tasting protein bars ever built. Revolutionizing nutrition as we know it with 100% real chocolate, 17 grams of protein, and shockingly low sugar and calories, 130 calories. Just sink your teeth into the first bite and it'll change your life forever. I'm not kidding. There will be time before you try these new Built Bars. And the magical, wonderful time afterwards. You're probably wondering which new flavor is my favorite. An unanswerable question to say the least. They're all absolutely unbelievable, and they're all different. You can order a mix box so you can try all 5 flavors for yourself. Built, you have to try this. Get 15% off your order right now by using promo code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. Get 15% off your order right now by using promo code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, so I think you're going to be hearing these rumors for the next year until February, unless he gets traded by February. And even after the February trade deadline, you're going to hear all about it in the next offseason. If he's still on the team past that offseason, you're going to be hearing it at the beginning of next season. And it's going to be, I'm talking about, I should say, the Boyan Bogdanovic trade rumors. So there's some recent rumors out, and this shouldn't really come as a shock to anybody, really. But obviously, the Los Angeles Lakers seem to be incredibly interested in Boyan Bogdanovic. It sounds like, according to the Bleacher Report, that Boyan Bogdanovic is a team or is a player that many, many teams are looking at and are interested in getting from the Detroit Pistons. And it looks like the Pistons are going to be, for the back-to-back years, they're going to be holding probably the most prized asset at the trade deadline. They'll be able to do whatever they want, and they're going to have a ton of suitors for Boyan Bogdanovic, just like they did last year for Jeremy Grant. So we've kind of talked about this already in the podcast before, just a little bit. But I want to point out a few things before we get into Lakers trading for him or just trading Boyan in general. So there's a date that you guys all need to be looking out for, and that's December 15th. December 15th is when all free agents that were signed this past offseason can be traded. They cannot be traded until then. So anyone that signed a contract this past offseason, they cannot be traded until December 15th. And that's why you usually don't see many trades, if any at all, happen until December 15th, because that's when you can start using contracts that you just signed. Obviously, like I said, in the offseason, you can start using heavier, like if you, let's say, I'm just going to throw out a random example. Let's say the Pistons wanted to use Marvin Bagley's contract. The whole point they signed him because they wanted to have that kind of contract that's worth $13 million so they can match contracts with another team. They have some assets, but they're all cheap. And if you want to go after somebody, you have to be able to match contracts. You need a heavier contract on your books. So let's say there's a team out there that did something like the Pistons did. Let's say they signed Marvin Bagley $13 million a year, and their plan was during the season, we want to use this contract to help match for a bigger guy that we want down the road. That's why December 15th is such an important date, because a lot of teams do that a lot. And honestly, I'm going to tell you guys this. I wouldn't be shocked if that actually is why the Pistons re-signed Marvin Bagley for that amount of money. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him traded like in a year or two because of that, as a salary filler in a deal for a team. Just keep that in mind. But anyways, yes, December 15th, stay tuned for that. I think that's, once that date hits, you're going to start hearing rumors circulate more and more and more and more. But anyways, do I think, well, first off, let me just say this. Do I believe the rumors? Yes, I do. And I can say for a fact, I can confirm that there are plenty of teams interested in Boyan Bogdanovic, and the Pistons will be listening. Doesn't mean they actually will trade him, but the Pistons will be listening to trade offers for Boyan Bogdanovic. He's going to have a heavy market if he's not traded by the trade deadline, in the trade deadline market. It's going to be heavy. So this Bleacher Report article says the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns are both expected to have interest. And again, like I said, I fully expect there to be many more teams to be interested in Boyan Bogdanovic. So now we move on to, should the Detroit Pistons trade Boyan Bogdanovic? And I know that there's many of you guys out there who think the answer is absolutely not. We finally got a good player to help this team, and he's a shooter. We need it, blah, blah, all that stuff. The Pistons should 100% trade Boyan Bogdanovic as soon as they get a good offer. As soon as they get a good offer, you trade Boyan Bogdanovic. And here's the reason why. Let me dismiss some myths for you guys too real quick. A lot of the reasoning I've seen for not trading Boyan Bogdanovic has been, one of them is, I've seen some of you guys tweet it at me and comment down below that if you trade him right after signing an extension, it looks bad for the organization. You did him wrong. No, it's the complete opposite. I need everyone to understand this. Boyan Bogdanovic is a 33-year-old NBA player. He did not have any kind of long-term security after this season. Who knew if a winning team or contending team was going to be willing to pay out their hands, or is there a contending team anywhere out there that if he were to trade it to them, they would have the cap space to give him that extension? However, the Pistons went out of their way. They didn't have to do this. They went out of their way and gave him a longer-term contract, some long-term security. And now, if they were to trade him to a team that he's actually playing for something, I promise you right now, Boyan will look at it as, and many players across the league will look at it as, the Detroit Pistons took care of him. They gave him long-term security. They gave him his money, and then they sent him to a place where he can compete for something at his age. Boyan Bogdanovic at 33 years old does not need to be on a team that's 3-11. Boyan Bogdanovic at 33 years old, playing the way he's playing with only so many years left. Who knows if this is his last real productive year left? It can happen anytime in the NBA. It's 33. It's not like he's super athletic or anything. At 33, he should not be spending his last years on a team that's going to be top 5 in lottery odds. That's going to be top 5 in the NBA draft. Players across the league, agents across the league, everyone's going to look at it as they paid him, they secured him long-term, they took care of him, and then sent him to a place that he could have fun, he could enjoy himself, and he can play for something that matters. So that idea that the Pistons would be doing him wrong is so completely, utterly false. It's complete opposite. People will look at it the complete opposite way, because it is. They took care of him if they do that. If they were to trade him, this is not saying they absolutely are, but if they were, they took care of him. And the Pistons should get major applause for that if they do that. They took care of the guy. And you can't say that any other team would do that. No one knows if they would have. Right now, he didn't have a contract after this year. He could have. What happens if he would have got traded to somewhere else, suffered an injury? Now he doesn't have any long-term security. The Pistons gave him one instantly. Instantly, they gave him long-term security. And that moves me into my second point. Now, while they also took care of Boyan, that helps Boyan, they took care of him, that also makes him a better trade asset. Because teams who are going to be interested in him, like the Lakers, like the Phoenix Suns, or any other contender, they're going to be, before the extension, they were trading for a rental. They were trading for a guy with half a season left, and a guy they didn't know how much was going to command in the marketplace when he hit the free agency after this season. Now, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I actually think the Pistons got a steal with how much they got a steal with how much they're paying Boyan. I actually think Boyan should be getting paid quite more than $19 million a year. I think he's probably somewhere around like $24 million a year. That's what I think Boyan probably should have been getting paid. So the Pistons got him on a good deal. They got him on a longer-term deal that is, if they trim, it's not just a rental. So contending teams can trade for a guy they know that will be here for next season. It's not just a push for this half season. It's there for the next season as well. And the final year of his contract is only $2 million guaranteed. So a contender can look at his contract, trade for it, know they have him for at least another year. And if things aren't working out after that year, or if they decide to go in a different direction, or if they need to clear cap space, because a lot of contending teams are up against the cap and they have to try and make all these little minor moves on the edge. If a team wants to have that kind of contract on their books to where they could just waive them after a year, it makes them an even bigger trade asset for them. And then my final reason is that the Pistons are not going anywhere this year. They're not going anywhere this year. They're going to the top of the draft this year. This is not a good NBA team. It's not. With or without Boyan, this team is not good. He's not taking them anywhere this year. He's only under contract for another 2 years, or really just a 1 year, because I doubt the Pistons would guarantee his contract that second year with only $2 million being guaranteed. So he's only on this team for this year and maybe next year at the most. He's not changing anything in that time span. If you can flip a 33-year-old that you got Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee for a draft pick in this year's draft, or multiple draft picks, or a draft pick and a young asset to add to your young core and build around, you do that 10 times out of 10. There's no hesitation about it. And I promise you guys, Troy Weaver is not going to hesitate on that. If a good deal comes along where they can get a pick or a young asset for Boyan, they're going to do it. I can promise you that right now, they're going to do it. So it's just a matter of this. Are they going to get a good deal? If they don't get a good deal, no, they shouldn't trade him, just like they did with Jeremy last year. They didn't get a good enough offer that they liked at the trade deadline. They waited till the offseason. They got a trade they liked, and they are able to turn that into Jalen Duren and a bunch of expiring contracts, and Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, and eventually, we were just talking about with Boyan, a contract that can be waived in a year and a half, but whatever. If they can't get a trade offer that they like in the deadline, they should not trade them. But if they get a good one, I'm willing to bet my entire life and my life as a podcast host of the Locked On Pistons podcast, if there's an offer that they like, he will be gone. He will be traded, and it will be 100% the right move. Troy Weaver has to think about the long game. He has to think about not just the Pistons this year, but 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line. If he can flip a 33-year-old to help their long-term vision, he's going to do it. So that's just my overall opinion on it. I don't think the Lakers are an actual option here. Unless they're willing to give up Westbrook and the 2 first-round picks. If they do that, then yes. But based off of them not wanting to do that for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, I doubt they do that for Boyan Bogdanovic. So anyways, that's my overall thoughts on the whole Boyan Bogdanovic rumors going on right now. They're going to heat up even more once December 15th comes around, and they 100% should trade him if a good deal comes around. He's not helping them anywhere this year, and it would be doing right by him to send him somewhere he can play for something that matters. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below, or over on Twitter at Kooky Hill. When we come back, the Pistons are going on a Western road trip. Oh my God, I'm going to be recording a podcast at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's going to suck so much. But what can we expect to see from them during this Western road trip? How tough is it? My God, man, you guys are going to see when we come back from this break. But first, you guys got to hear from some of our sponsors. First up, I got to tell you guys a little bit about BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. And you head over to BetOnline.net and you click in the basketball section, you will see they got the odds for MVP, the champion this year, sixth man, most improved, rookie of the year, coach of the year, all those things. They already got the betting odds over there at BetOnline.net. Who do you guys think is the favorite? Do you guys agree with the odds over at BetOnline.net? Make sure you guys go check that out at their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on our podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. It's another great way to support the podcast. So the Detroit Pistons, man, are going on a long Western road trip this upcoming week and a half. So they started off Thursday against the Clippers in LA. Then they play the Lakers on a back-to-back on Friday. Then they play Sacramento on Sunday. Then they play Denver on Tuesday. All these are at these places, okay? They're at LA, at Sacramento, at Denver. Then they go to Utah on Wednesday, back-to-back again. Then they go to Phoenix on Friday. So it's a rough 6-game road trip for the Detroit Pistons. They're going from LA to Sacramento to Denver to Utah to Phoenix. It's and multiple back-to-backs within a long road trip. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. Do I expect the Pistons to win any of these games? I gotta be honest with you guys. No, I don't expect them to win a single of these games. Cade's going to be out at least the Clippers and Lakers game. And without Cade, I don't think they can beat either of those teams. They're not beating the Clippers either way. But the Lakers, I guess, you could say they could try to beat the Lakers if they had Cade, even though I think the Lakers are, at least Russ is starting to figure it out a little bit more. And against a team like the Pistons, I think they would beat. But with Cade, they'd have a better chance. I'd be willing to listen to or be willing to take a chance on them beating the Lakers. I don't think they're going to beat the Kings. They're definitely not beating the Denver Nuggets. Maybe they can beat the Utah Jazz. But the Utah Jazz have proven so far this season that they're not this bad team that everyone thought they were going to be. They're actually a really damn good team, and they're a lot of fun to watch. I encourage all of you guys, if you guys aren't watching the Utah Jazz, to go check a Utah Jazz game out. They're actually extremely fun to watch play basketball. So I don't know if the Utah Jazz, like before the season, if you looked at that game, you were looking at it as like a toss-up. Both these teams are tanking. That's a game that's winnable. I don't know if that's the case anymore. The Utah Jazz are a really damn good team, it looks like. And Lauri Markkanen looks like he could be an all-star this season. So in the Western Conference, too. So I don't know if they can beat the Jazz, and I definitely don't think they're beating the Phoenix Suns. So within 6 games, they're already on a 2-game or 3-game. Actually, how many losses have the Pistons got in a row? Yeah, they're on the 4-game losing streak, actually. I thought they were only on a 3-game losing streak, but they're on the 4-game losing streak right now. And if they lose the rest of these, all 6 of these road trip games, they'll be on a 10-game losing streak. You probably don't want that to happen. You probably would not like to see a 10-game losing streak happen. So what game do I think is the most gettable game for the Detroit Pistons to win? I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think the game that the most winnable game for the Pistons on this road trip, I think is Sunday, November 20th against the Sacramento Kings. I don't think they're beating the Clippers or the Lakers, especially on the back end of a back-to-back. They get a day off, and I think they can beat the Kings. The Kings are too up and down. They're too inconsistent. And at the end of the day, they're the Kings. So I think the Pistons could get them on any given night. I think they could get the Sacramento Kings. I think Cade's also going to be returning. Hopefully, if it is just those 3 games he was going to miss. If he does return against the Kings, I think that's the game that they could steal. I don't think they're stealing against the Nuggets. I don't think they're stealing against the Suns. I know some of you guys will think they can steal one against the Jazz. I'm telling you guys, if they do beat the Jazz, that will be a really good quality win, because the Jazz have been a really damn good team this year. They're not the tanking team that everyone thought they were. If you're not keeping up with the season, you probably still think they're a tanking team. They're not. They've been really damn good. So if I had to pick a team, I think it's the Sacramento game on November 20th. On a Sunday, by the way. It's a Sunday game at 6 o'clock. That's better for all of us. At least we won't be staying up till 10:30. But yeah, that's the game that I think they can steal. They need to at least win one of these, I think. You have to win one of these, because even if you're tanking, or, okay, let's just say restoring. I know tanking is a bad word in this city, but let's just say you're restoring. Even a 10-game losing streak is something you don't want to have. No team wants to have a 10-game losing streak. You'd like to sprinkle in some wins. So especially on a young team, if you get to 10-game losing streak, it does a lot. It'll destroy everyone's morale and attitude. It'll do some bad things. So you don't want a 10-game losing streak. They need to win at least one of them. And I think the game against the Sacramento Kings is the one they'll win. So if you guys disagree with me, you guys think there's another game that they're going to win, if you guys actually think they could pull off multiple wins in this stretch, let me know that in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Make sure you guys get your sleep on the nights before these games, because, look, it's going to be some late games. Clippers, 10:30. Lakers, 10:30. Nuggets, 9 o'clock. Jazz, 9 o'clock. Suns, 9 o'clock. Like, I'm not ready for this. And if I'm not ready for this, I know you guys aren't ready for it. So go ahead and get your sleep ready. Go ahead and set them alarms. Maybe even take a nap after work. Set an alarm to wake up at 10, then watch the game. You feel me? Do whatever you got to do. But get prepared for this, because this is going to be rough. Especially if these are some bad games, especially if the Pistons are losing by a lot. Oh my God! Imagine staying up till like 1 o'clock in the morning just to see the Pistons lose by 30 points. I can just see the outrage from all you guys right now. But anyways, that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel, Locked On Pistons. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until the next podcast, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Go Pistons. Until next time, peace out, everybody.